Level 1 is where every Mandalorian starts, the Foundling stage. This is basic combat training, learning to hold a blaster properly, understanding how to move in armor, how to take a hit, and stay standing. It sounds simple, but this is where the weak get filtered out. Mandalorian children start this training as young as 5 years old. They learn that hesitation gets you killed, that mercy is a luxury they can't afford. At this level, fighters focus on survival. One weapon, one target, one goal. Stay alive. The training is brutal. Live fire exercises, hand-to-hand combat against older warriors, endurance tests in harsh environments. Most people would call it child abuse. Mandalorians call it Tuesday. By the time a foundling completes level 1, they can outfight trained soldiers from most planets. But in Mandalorian culture, they're still considered babies, because level 1 is just about not dying. Level 2 is where you learn to actually kill. Level 2 is where Mandalorians earn the right to be called warriors. This is no longer about survival, it's about becoming a threat. At this stage, fighters master multiple weapons: blasters, vibroblades, Beskad swords, and the iconic Mandalorian vambraces. But it's not just about knowing how to use them, it's about knowing when. A level 2 warrior can switch between weapons mid-fight without thinking. They read their opponent, they adapt, they exploit weakness. This is also where Mandalorians learn their most famous combat principle: K-Verd, no mercy, no hesitation, no second chances. You commit to every move like it's your last. Because in Mandalorian combat, it might be. The majority of Mandalorian warriors never move past this level, and honestly, they don't need to. A level 2 Mandalorian is already more dangerous than 90% of fighters in the galaxy. They can hold their own against Jedi Padawans, veteran clone troopers, and even some bounty hunters. But the clans don't celebrate level 2 warriors. They're common, expected. If you want respect, you need to reach level 3. Level 3 is where everything changes. This isn't just about fighting anymore, it's about thinking. A level 3 Mandalorian doesn't just react to combat, they control it. They see 3 moves ahead. They turn environments into weapons. They make their enemies fight on their terms. At this level, warriors master jetpack combat. And if you've never seen a Mandalorian with a jetpack who knows what they're doing, you don't understand how terrifying it is. They're not just flying, they're using 3-dimensional warfare, attacking from angles that shouldn't exist, disappearing and reappearing before you can track them, raining down fire from above while staying constantly mobile. Level 3 warriors also learn squad tactics: how to lead, how to coordinate, how to turn a group of level 2 fighters into a killing machine. This is the level where Mandalorians become clan leaders, commanders, the ones who plan the raids and lead the charges. Pre-Vizsla operated at this level. Gar Saxon, bo-katan for most of her career. These are warriors who can take on Jedi Knights and win, who can outsmart Republic strategists, who make entire armies think twice before engaging. But even at level 3, you're still not at the top, not even close. Level 4 is where Mandalorians stop being soldiers and become something else entirely: hunters, assassins, ghosts. At this level, combat isn't loud and aggressive anymore. It's calculated, precise, deadly. Level 4 warriors master stealth technology, cloaking devices, silent weapons, infiltration techniques that would make Imperial intelligence jealous. But here's what makes them truly dangerous. They combine this stealth with overwhelming violence. A level 4 Mandalorian can sneak into a fortified compound completely undetected. Then, when the moment is right, they unleash absolute chaos. Flamethrowers, missiles, whistling birds. They go from invisible to apocalyptic in seconds. This is also where Mandalorians learn to hunt Force users specifically. They study Jedi and Sith combat styles, learn their weaknesses, figure out how to counter Force powers with technology and tactics. Jango Fett was a level 4 warrior. So was Boba Fett during his prime. Djarin reached this level after taking down Moff Gideon's forces. These warriors can take contracts that would get anyone else killed. They track targets across the galaxy. They adapt to any situation. They always complete the mission. But level 4 is still not the peak, because the next level is where Mandalorians become legends. Level 5, Mandalorians are the ones songs get written about, the ones who single-handedly change the outcome of wars. At this stage, combat becomes an art form. Every movement is perfect. Every decision is right. They don't just win fights, they make it look effortless. A level 5 warrior has mastered every weapon in the Mandalorian arsenal, but more than that, they've developed their own style, their own signature. You can watch them fight and know exactly who they are. They're that good. This is where Mandalorians earn names that echo through history. Mandalore the Ultimate, Canderous Ordo, Sabine Wren at her peak. These warriors don't just fight Jedi, they hunt Jedi Masters. They've gone toe-to-toe with Sith Lords and survived. Some have even won. At level 5, Mandalorians become walking war crimes. They can clear entire battlefields alone, take down gunships with handheld weapons, survive situations that should be impossible. But here's the thing. Level 5 warriors are rare, maybe 1 or 2 per generation across all the clans. And most Most Mandalorians believe level 5 is the highest you can go, that it's the peak of what's achievable. They're wrong, because there are 2 more levels, and most people don't even know they exist. Level 6 is where things get dark. This level isn't taught openly, it's not celebrated. In fact, most Mandalorian clans pretend it doesn't exist, because level 6 warriors don't just win battles, they erase enemies from existence. At this stage, Mandalorians learn forbidden techniques, weapons that were banned after the Mandalorian Wars, tactics so brutal that even other Mandalorians consider them too far. This is scorched earth warfare. Total destruction. No survivors. Level 6 warriors use biological weapons, orbital bombardments, mass driver cannons. They don't capture planets, they make them uninhabitable. They don't defeat armies. They make sure those armies can never fight again. Mandalore the Indomitable operated at this level. So did some of the Death Watch extremists. These are warriors who terrify their own people. The Jedi Order, during the Old Republic, had a specific protocol for level 6 Mandalorians. Don't engage alone. Don't try to capture. Eliminate on sight, because at this level, a single Mandalorian can destabilize entire star systems. But even level 6 isn't the top. There's one more level, one that's so rare, so dangerous, that it's basically a myth. Some historians think it never existed. Others believe only 3 Mandalorians in all of history ever reached it. They're about to find out they're both wrong. Level 7 doesn't have an official name, because the Mandalorians who reach it become something beyond classification, beyond understanding. They transcend combat itself. At this level, warriors don't just fight, they reshape reality around them. They move through battles like they already know every outcome, every shot their enemy will take, every move before it happens. It's not the Force, it's something else. Pure instinct elevated to an impossible degree. Decades of combat experience compressed into split-second decisions that are always right. A level 7 Mandalorian can walk into a room with 50 armed enemies and walk out without a scratch. Not because they're lucky, because they've already calculated every variable, every possibility, and they've chosen the one path where they survive and everyone else doesn't. Mandalore the First was level 7, the warrior who united all the clans and created the Mandalorian culture itself. Jaster Muriel might have reached it before he died, and some whisper that Djarin is on the path after wielding the Darksaber and uniting Mandalore. But here's the truth about level 7. It's not about technique anymore. It's not about weapons or armor or tactics. It's about will. Level 7 Mandalorians don't believe they can lose, and that belief becomes reality. They bend combat to their vision of how it should be, and the galaxy has no choice but to obey.